Welcome to the Pastel Podcast, where we chat with pastel artists and take a dive into the vibrant world of pastel painting. Whether you're an experienced artist or just beginning, this podcast brings you inspiring stories and engaging discussions on the joy of painting with pastels. Thanks for tuning in and get ready to add more color into your world. Welcome to today's episode of the Pastel Podcast. I'm your co-host, Carrie Stober, and with me is the beautiful Lisa Skelly.
Hi, everyone.
Our guest today is Karen Margulis. She is a pastel powerhouse, inspiring teacher, and a daily painter from Marietta, Georgia. She's an eminent pastelist with IAPS, the International Association of Pastel Societies, and a Master Pastelist with the Pastel Society of America. And she is a beloved instructor known for making art simple, fun, and approachable. And she is just such a wonderful lady. Let's welcome Karen.
Welcome, Karen.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us.
We are so glad, that you could join us today. Lisa, I'm going to let you kick things off. Why don't you ask our first question?
Let's start with the foundation. How did you get started painting in pastel?
Well, okay, so if we go all the way back to high school, I painted in high school and then did not really do any art until I got into my 40s. So there was a long break where I got married, raised my kids, was working full time. And when those kids got into high school, I had some free time and I thought, you know what, I got to get back into some art. And I started with a watercolor evening class. Was not very successful at that, but took a one-day pastel workshop and fell in love. And that was the start of it. So that was back in, this is my 20th year anniversary. I call it my painting anniversary. I started in 2005. So I've been painting with pastel. I never did anything else. I just was like, pastel, that's it for me. So
that sounds so cool. You didn't see my face when you said that it wasn't, hey, you haven't painted since high school. I was shocked. That is so cool that you got back into that and just knew that pastel was the one.
Yes. I mean, I of course dabble with watercolor, acrylic, oil. I love it all, but pastel has been my main, medium of choice.
I have a really similar story. Same thing was more than 20 years ago, and took a pastel workshop, fell in love. That was it. I was over the moon with pastel.
Yeah.
See, I'm very tactile. I just like really working with my hands. And so that's the one, and rather than holding a brush, I like to get my hands dirty. So that's why it resonated with me.
I think it worked really well for me, and that also it was easy because I actually had a family daycare. So in my basement was a daycare room. Now it's my studio. But I needed something that was not messy, that I could just put aside and take out in the evenings. And as it turned out, I would paint on when they were napping. So
there you go.
It was easy. I could easily put away, wash my hands, and keep on going with my day. So
it's funny to hear you say that, because when people think of pastel, they think of the mess because there's dust everywhere. Like it's messy, but you're right. Like it's so much easier to, especially if you're someone who's like me with gouache, like I want to paint, but it's too much work to get everything out. And then you got to, find a place for it. So just to have like the pastel tray there and some paper nearby, like you can literally just walk by, pick it up and go about your day. That's the immediacy of it is what makes it really cool.
And you don't have to clean your brushes. That was to me a big deal. Wash your hands. That's it.
Yeah.
So it really worked out.
So do you, so this is kind of a topic that I get a lot of questions about in various things that I do, because there are people who are concerned about the toxicity of the pastels. And I know that there's a lot of standards, and that kind of thing, and they're not that harmful unless obviously you're like breathing in all the dust. But do you use a barrier cream, or I know there are some artists who paint with gloves. What's your preference on that?
I have barrier cream. I always forget to put it on. But
I know, same.
Right. The way I look at it, and this is what I tell students, is that in my experience, the pastel dust itself is quite heavy, right? So you'll notice it falls down, which is why I have a tray to collect the dust. And it's so it's not really in the air unless you blow on it, which is,
right.
you know, you learn early on, don't ever blow on your painting. But you watch all that dust fall down. And so then I have another thing. I have all black shelving in my studio. I don't have to dust it. So there's no dust falling on it. So I feel confident that I'm not breathing it in.
Yeah.
As far as, yeah. But barrier cream is good. I just forget to put it on.
Yeah, same. Just one extra step.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have a very, like when I see a painting, I can go, okay, that's a Karen Margulis painting. I feel like you have there's a very specific style. Not only is there vibrant color, but you do a lot with your underpaintings.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about your thought process behind that and how you kind of came to that conclusion to start messing with that a little bit more?
I feel like I always did some sort of underpainting, or I'll even call it a block in. It started always being something dry, just where I block in the entire painting with, you know, usually by value. Sometimes I think about color, so that I have a foundation to build the painting on. I felt like it gave me the big picture sooner, and I didn't get so caught up in details too quickly. So then when I discovered alcohol wash, that would have been my first experiment with underpainting. And I remember very clearly that I felt like I was cheating almost, like the painting was already not necessarily done, but I had such a good foundation for the painting that it just really led me to want to have that same feeling. So I don't like start in one corner and work my way across the paper. I like to have the whole thing laid out in the beginning. And then I gradually know that I can add whatever clarity and detail I want and still have that painterly quality, the kind of mysterious areas. And I don't get too caught up in the details too soon. So the underpainting really helps with that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I know for me, I'm not a beginner, but I still kind of consider myself that because I haven't been painting for very long and don't paint regularly. That's something I definitely get tripped up on, is putting in those details too soon and not trying to start with like a base first. You also, when I watched your demo during Pastel Live, you used, can't remember the medium, but I felt like you used like a textural. You added something to the paper. Was it gesso, or maybe do you use some kind of a pastel ground?
Probably use clear gesso. So the clear gesso has a little grittiness to it, which actually makes a nice sanded surface. So that's probably what I use. That's kind of my go-to when I want to get more physical texture in a painting. But of course there are other products and you can make your own. But that's usually my go-to to get texture. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always fun to watch that.
Do you use that gesso all the time now, or just specifically for certain effects?
Just for certain effects, or sometimes if I know the subject will, like say, for example, a grassy area might lend itself to that kind of physical texture. Because that's one of the things with pastel, it's a little bit more challenging to get that impasto feeling, that the thickness that we can get with, say, oil paint or acrylic paint. So I try to sometimes push it by what I put underneath. And so using that clear gesso can give me that kind of head start.
Yeah, I liked you used, I think it was a palette knife to kind of make some of the grassy.
Yeah, I use
strokes.
now a bamboo skewer. That's my best friend. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah, you can get thicker lines and then use the pointy end for some really fine detail. So it's a great tool. I also
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, it's a bamboo skewer, and you can also use it like if you want to remove pastel without using a brush, where you can have more like surgical precision with the. Yeah,
I have done that.
Yeah.
I'm very heavy-handed, so if I get too much on there, I just kind of scrape it off.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
I thought finally getting alcohol wash into my process was revolutionary.
Yes.
I thought that when it resonated with me when you said that, and I was like, oh, this is really cool.
How so?
Well, I remember because I did it with an artist friend of mine, and we had watched a video, and the artist used an alcohol wash, and we kind of painted along, and we thought, oh, let's try this, and we really felt like, oh my gosh, we have this painting already, and some interesting drips were happening, and it was just really interesting to respond to. And it really took the fear out of starting a painting, because no longer did you have this blank piece of paper, but you actually had something to respond to. And after that day, I never looked back. So
Yeah.
just tried to get better at doing underpaintings, because in those early stages or early days of underpainting, I thought it was just like, you're a house painter. You're just going to wet the painting down from top to bottom. But I didn't really take the time to express myself with the brush, and that really can help make a better underpainting.
Which was really great when you got to the part where you got to add color on top. Then it was a more joyful process. And for me, anyway, when I did the alcohol underpainting, I was like, oh, now I just get to play with color on top. And you already had that foundation. So
Yes.
I love doing the alcohol wash underpainting.
Yeah.
Do you guys typically do you do complementary color or analogous, or do you do local colors? Is there a certain approach that you take?
Well, for me, okay, so I get that question all the time. How do you know what technique to use, underpainting technique, and of course, what colors? How do you decide on the colors? And I always say that if there's no right or wrong choice, right? But every choice is going to give you different results. But if there was a right or wrong answer, I would have written that book, because so many people ask me, how do you know what color choices? So it's like, no, there's no underpainting police. No one can tell you that that's wrong choice, And how do you know? It's only going to be through experience. So like trial and error. The more underpaintings you do and try different colors, it's not just complements, right? We can try to create depth and start with colors that will help create depth. We can go bold, we can go dark, there's so many options that we have. And how do we know which ones? Well, experience. So the more experience you have with it, the more intuitive your choices will be. So
very good advice.
Lots of practice.
I do. Yeah. I like to play around with different underpaintings to see painting the same scene and see how it's going to play out. I also love experimenting with creating different surfaces. So I've painted on canvas panel that's been gessoed. I've painted on wood, like all kinds of different things. So it's been fun to experiment.
I love that. That's like my favorite thing to do, is try different things, and then you have more. Like I said, I like to think of it as having more tools in my toolbox. So when I pick up a scene, something that I want to paint, say, oh, what have I done in the past that would really lend itself to this particular scene that I want to paint? And so the more you play around, the more information you'll have to draw upon.
You know what I was really fascinated by when I watched your demo at the Plein Air convention in Denver. I believe it was Denver. I think
it was Smoky Mountains.
Smoky Mountains. That's
yes.
it. Okay, in the
there were mountains somewhere.
Yes, there were mountains.
And what I took a picture of your setup, because you pare it down so well to make it easy to go out on location. And so I actually ended up buying the smaller Pastel pochade box and said, okay, I'm going to pare down so that it's easy. I can fit everything in a tote bag and just head out. So how did you decide which pastels to bring with you in a smaller?
Excellent question.
Yeah, well, you go through I like to think of it as a bell curve of pastel accumulation. So you start off with not very much, but then you get to the point where, especially for plein air, you have so much that it's just daunting and it's no longer fun. So I had made the commitment that I just needed to downsize, and I had a large box and, tried to bring everything that I thought I needed. And I ended up with a cart full of stuff. I didn't even know what I had. So when I decided to downsize, all I just really said to myself was, I just need some colorful darks, some colorful lights, some colors in between, middle value colors, making sure I had enough neutrals and then enough vibrant colors. And I'll tweak it depending on where I'm going. So for example, the Smoky Mountains, I'm going to lean more towards more greens at that time of year. So I might tweak the box, but I'm more concerned about having a range of value and color and colorful darks and lights. And I think that has really helped me. So I don't always have the right color, but if I have the right value, I know that I can at least get something down. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really helpful because I got the smallest pochade box from Dakota and I filled it up with my first, plein air painting trip, and I didn't have a lot of the right colors. I filled I started from one side of my palette, the light oranges and yellows, and then moved to the darks and ran out of space very quickly. So figuring out how to pare it down and just really focus on what you think you need for that particular scene is helpful.
Yeah. It's tricky, and it's taken a lot of going out and realizing, I don't need that one, or that one's not necessary, and it's come. I think I've got it down pretty much now, but
that's awesome.
I like to keep it simple for sure.
So Karen, what draws you to a particular scene?
For me, it changes. Like, so in the 20 years I've been painting, that what I'm drawn to has definitely changed. So just like, for example, in the beginning, I was most drawn to, say, beaches, and I wanted to paint birds and shells and things like that. And now I'm more I'm more drawn to things that are not necessarily beautiful, but that I see beauty in them, like a tangle of weeds. I get so excited by something like that. Anything moody, I'm drawn to that right now. So I would say things have changed for me, but it's basically, I want to show beauty where maybe it's overlooked. So those are the kind of things that excite me.
Why do you think it's changed so much over the years?
That's a great question. I don't know. I went through a phase where I wouldn't paint like wildflowers and things like that because I was thinking they were just too pretty, too sweet. I've heard comments.
I love your
like
wildflower paintings.
And one day I just decided, you know what? Maybe it's not that it's the wrong subject. Maybe it's the way I'm treating them, and I'm making them, too sweet. I don't know. And I just this is what I like. I'm going to paint this, but I'm going to do the best job I possibly can with that. So, I don't know. And now that's probably my top, in my top 5 of things that I like to paint. But
I really love, so what initially when I first knew about you as an artist, the paintings that drew me the most were your wildflower paintings because you approached it from a different perspective than what most people do. Like, it was up from underneath, like you were looking up at the wildflowers, which I thought was so cool. And yeah, the colors that you choose, it's almost like perspective is a big thing.
It's almost like you're laying in the grass, the tall grasses.
Yeah.
I kind of like to, I guess that's my point of view that I really enjoy, is thinking myself as if I were laying down, how would I see these? Or if I were a little creature crawling through the grasses, how would I see them, and how could I create depth, even though I'm like just close up in this tangle of weeds? So I really enjoy that point of view.
That's so cool. It's so interesting. And you don't realize how much changing perspective changes a painting. I just went to a Pastel Society meeting, and we had Sarah Blumenshine, and she was showing some of her still life paintings, and one of them was taken like up above, and you don't realize just how much it really changes the structure of the painting when you just shift that perspective.
Right.
It's really cool to kind of play around with that.
And it can make any subject more interesting if you can approach it from a different point of view. Yeah.
Because it takes it out of the ordinary thing that you would, see walking by it. And it makes you stop in your tracks and go, oh, that's interesting.
Right. I love that. That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
So we talked about your unique approach to underpaintings, what draws you to a scene. There was something on your website I wanted to ask you about. You talk about when it comes to mark making, whispering versus
Oh,
shouting.
yes.
What do you mean by that?
So I think one of the things that I love about pastel is the ability that we have to layer and to have more optical blends of color rather than mixing together and getting those physical blends. And so in order to have success with that, you need to be able to have a light enough touch. So if you are whispering, then it's easier to layer multiple colors where you can still see through those layers. If
Right.
you, on the other hand, are shouting, which I call pressing hard, then you
Just
don't
me, I
have that.
shout a lot.
So, but I love to shout too. So I love to have those heavier marks, but I want them to be in contrast to the lighter whispered areas so that I can create that, the area of contrast that will draw the viewer into looking at it. So I always kind of use one way to remember is just to say to yourself, well, the right touch is a light touch, because with the light
Love it.
touch, you have that ability to do the layering and then shout when you need to. So oftentimes I'll use that light touch for as long as I can. And then when I know that's the final mark, I will go ahead and shout. And that means I'll press hard.
I feel like that should be the motto for the pastel world. The light touch is the right touch.
At
I
least,
love that.
and like I say, there's nothing wrong with having a heavy hand, in my opinion. That's just a very valid way to apply pastel. But I know a lot of times artists will get frustrated that they're not getting all those nice subtleties with their layering, and oftentimes it can be traced back to having that heavier hand too soon. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
the
I
too
do.
soon is the key
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I think so. And here's a little tip to how do you know if your touch is light enough? And so my judge is when you are layering, if you can still see the color underneath or the paper, right? Then you're light enough. If all of a sudden all you see is a solid mark and you can't see what's underneath that mark, then you've shouted. So lighten up your touch if you want to get that layered optical blend.
So you've used that term twice now. For those who are new to pastel, what is optical blending?
So to me, anyways, the way I interpret it is that your eye will put together the colors and make a new color because those colors are placed next to one another or on top of one another. So they are more interesting, and that's why you can also have less pastels, because you can say modify a color you can lighten a color by layering very lightly a lighter value. And so our eye sees that as a lighter color, but I'm not physically blending them together. So our eye sees a new color or a shift.
Gotcha.
But it's not a physical. So physical is when you press. That's another reason for I avoid shouting too much, is because then you are physically mixing those layers. And if you say you have a complement or more than two colors, you are going to create a gray, a neutral, which when we don't want it, it's mud. So
Right?
keeping that light touch can also help us avoid creating mud when we don't want it.
I think of it too as they're vibrating together because they're layered on top of each other, so you can still see the colors next to each other, stroke over stroke.
Right.
And so I do the same in my workshops. I, really try to get people to have a very feather light touch.
Yes.
Which is same as whispering, but
yes, the same. Right.
Then there's room. There's more room to build on.
You have more options that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So here's another question I get a lot: to blend or not to blend?
So
how do you approach blending?
I love that question because I felt like early on I was taught not to blend, like not to ever touch it. But as I have progressed and learned, I realized that there's a time and a place for blending. And if you know why you want to do it and you can do it in a certain way that you are not making things too dull, then it's fine. So I don't have that like I will never blend. There are times that I will, but it's done with such a light touch that I guess my goal is I don't want to physically blend layers together to get it muddy, but I also don't want to flatten out the luminosity of the pigment in the pastel. So if I use a super light touch, and I'll typically just use like my little finger and just kind of, I call it butterfly fingers, where I'm just kind of knitting those layers together. And I'll often do it if I want a really calm sky. Other than that, I don't really blend much. Yeah.
My very first instructor, when I just bought my first pastel set and found this instructor who happened to be working at the store at that time, that's exactly how she, well, opposite of you, but she approached it as she blended everything.
Right.
So when I first starting out, I was blending everything. And so it's been so hard for me to stop myself from doing that and just try to lay a stroke down and lay a stroke down. And maybe that's why I ended up being so heavy-handed, is because I was constantly blending and having to add more. And so I don't know.
Yeah, that makes
But yeah,
sense.
I find that interesting that I didn't realize how much it dulled it down. I think at least it was you who told me that. But yeah, it really does kind of dull it and muddy it up a little bit when you are blending way too much. I feel like this is the new kid in school. Pipe insulation is what I've heard a lot of people using recently for blending. Have you done that?
I've been using pipe insulation for years now, and the person who introduced me to pipe insulation was Terry Ludwig.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's where it came from. Anyways, that's where I think it came from for me. Anyways, I took a workshop with Terry years ago. I was early on in my pastel journey. He came to North Georgia and did a workshop. And one day we were all out plein air painting, and he came around and gave everyone a piece of pipe insulation that he had sent someone to a hardware store to pick it up. And he said, "I have a gift for you." And that's where I learned about it.
I learned about it from Karen. So when I watched your demo and I was like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then I did an art school live where Carrie, I showed 2 ways to start a pastel painting. And one of them was pipe insulation. And I actually talked about you and where I learned that in that episode. So it's wonderful. Like it just gives you a different look, but it was really fun to try that.
Yes. So
yeah, I first heard about it from Bethany Field.
So, I mean, it's gone around, and I don't know if Terry passed that on to everybody, or it just kind of organically, or someone else tried it. I don't know, but that was where I first learned about it. And I think for me, it was a game changer if I wanted to block in something quickly and get that dry wash to get everything out of focus, especially for plein air. But what I have discovered as I share the technique, and I neglect to say, I don't ever use that piece of pipe insulation except for that initial layer, because oftentimes we'll use it thinking, oh, it's an eraser, I can get rid of areas. But what it ends up doing, once you have multiple layers, it just muddies things up. It's not a useful tool to me anyways after that initial block-in layer. So I will put it aside.
Have you ever used, somebody gifted me a set of Sennelier blenders, like the fine, like I think it's horsehair or something. Have you ever used those? I've only ever used them to like take pastel off the paper if I got too much on, but I've never tried blending with it.
No, I purchased them, but and tried them out, but it doesn't, I haven't discovered how it works for me yet. That doesn't mean that it's not a useful tool, but for me, I would need to play around with it more, to see where I can incorporate it. But I have them, just like, if anything new comes out, you just want to give it a try. Anyways.
You gotta have everything.
You gotta have it anyways. So yes.
More toys.
So that reminds me, I'll have to take those out and play with those some more.
Let us know what you find out. I'm following you on Patreon, so I'm a subscriber.
Excellent. Thank you.
Subscribe to your channel on Patreon.
Well, I appreciate
Well,
that.
since we're on that topic, Karen, do you want to talk a little bit about your Patreon and what you do on there?
Yes. So if you're not familiar with Patreon, of course, it's a platform for creators where you can share it doesn't matter what kind of creator you are, but it's excellent, I have found, as to do art instruction, because you can do video, you can show photos, and it's just easy for me as the creator to get the content out there easily. But what I love about it is that it archives everything. So if you join the group, you do a monthly pledge, you have access to all of the older content. And I've had my group since 2017. So I think the last I looked, there's over 500 videos that I have done. Yeah. So it's a lot of content, and you know, if there's a question about anything pastel, I probably have covered it subject wise, technique wise. So it's all available to you when you join. So
Yeah,
that's awesome.
There's a lot of content.
and
Sharing
sorry.
more. I said you're always sharing more and more, so I get the notifications and.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, it's every day. I mean, we have a topic of the month, a theme of the month, and this month I'm working on December actually. So it's all about texture. So it's funny you ask me questions about texture. It's like that's on my mind right now, how to create texture.
You're the texture queen in my mind.
Well, and so I love it. And so this is a fun month we're going to do a deep dive into texture. And I'll do a video on Monday, paint along video on Wednesdays, and then I fill in with lessons, and we have challenges. And it's just, it's fun. We have a great group. We have a chat room so people can share their work and ask for feedback. And it's a great way to connect with other artists, other pastel artists. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
I haven't made the jump to Patreon yet. I just don't have the time to. I think I tried once, and I was signed up for maybe 2 months, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I don't have enough time.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. That's the hard part, making time for everything.
Yeah.
So is it easier for you to do that? Are you retired now? Don't have anyone at home, so you can just focus on art?
Yes, I am retired. Well, so I had a daycare, and it got to the point where I was only down to one child, and it was either start over and get a new group or make the leap and, move into doing art full time. And that's what I did. I can't remember the exact year I did that, but so mostly it's teaching. So whether I do in-person workshops and then started with YouTube, I still have YouTube channel, and then of course the Patreon. So that's full-time, and it is a full-time job. I mean, I work really hard at getting that content and, keeping it up to date. So
how much of your time is spent painting versus, promoting and creating the content for those kinds of things? Because I've often, when we talk to artists about marketing and things like that, they want to focus on the art and have somebody else do, all the administrative and the marketing stuff. So how much of your time is spent doing the non-fun painting stuff?
Well, that's a great question. I'm a little bit selfish in that the topics that I pick for, say, the Patreon are things that I want to do. Like,
right.
Oh, I want to try this. I want to work on this new Canson paper, and I'm going to do it for a month. And I want to paint Scotland, so I'm going to do texture or whatever it is. So I try to incorporate what I want to do personally, so that when I'm painting for these demos, they're things that I want to do anyways. So I kind of combine that. But I guess my day is going down to the studio in the morning, doing a video or painting something that usually is going to be part of a lesson, but yet I'm enjoying it as well. And then spend the rest of my time with the administrative and the marketing kind of stuff. So I try to combine it all together.
Got to make it fun.
Yes, exactly.
You got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It comes through. So.
Well, yeah, when it stops being fun, well, then why do it? So
do something else.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So the one thing I wanted to mention too is, so we were talking about surfaces. You mentioned Canson. Have either of you guys tried the Mazzulli paper yet? It came in a sample pack from Dakota, and it's this really finely sanded, like iridescent kind of paper.
Okay. So funny you should bring that up, because I was just on the Dakota site, I think this morning, because I was looking something up and I saw that listed and I thought, you know what? I don't know about this. I'm going to have to try this. So now I'm going to have to order some. No, I have not used it.
Did you like it?
I did. I actually, so I did the sample. So then I bought the pack, and it comes in like a spiral bound, and it's got, I was going to say corrugated. It's not corrugated. What do you call that when it's scored? Perforated. Thank you.
Okay.
So you could tear it off. And I did that. I went plein air painting with a group of people, and it was honestly one of the best paintings I've ever done. Plein air painting. Like, I framed it. I was so excited.
Oh, I love that.
But it's very like the light touch is the right touch. You have to have a very light hand because it just sucks it in.
Okay.
But it's just really cool because it's such a light, like the one that I used was like a light, like sea foam green, but it's got an iridescent shine to it.
Oh, that's fun.
So yeah, it was really cool. I liked it.
I don't know it. So I think the last paper that I tried was the Canson Velvet.
Oh yeah, and I've never tried that one. What do you think of that one?
Okay, so yeah, I love that one. It's remind me of pastel matte, the way you need several layers before it starts to kind of come together. But the nice thing is it takes a wet underpainting and it stays flat. So, so yeah, I've been playing with that. But I love all papers, but I find that certain papers work better with certain techniques. So it's just a matter of, picking the right paper for the job you want to do. So yeah.
I always had trouble with the Sennelier paper. I loved the tooth of it, but it didn't take anything wet. Right. So I'm curious. I haven't tried they have a new one now that will take a wet medium, and I haven't gotten to try it yet.
Yeah, that is, put that on your list.
It's on. Oh, I've got a running shopping list.
Yeah.
Always.
That one's fun. So, yeah, I love it. One thing that I've discovered about paper is that I have to, if I decide that maybe I don't like it or does not suit me, that I have to work on it for more than just one painting until you discover, oh, well, it works better with a harder pastel, or it takes a wet underpainting in a different way. So I never want to give up on a paper till I've really tried a lot of different things with it. So
yeah, I think that's really good because so for me, when I first, one of the first papers I had, I think was Canson, the Mi-Tente.
Right.
And I love texture and bold stuff. And so I just didn't feel like I could get that with that paper. But I started gessoing it and then doing it that way. And I really love, especially because I can do either like a really smooth surface and just have nice sanded, or I like to do like crazy brush strokes and have it be really, really textured. And I've gotten some really good results with that, doing it that way. So
that's great to know.
You're right. Like experimenting, and, it may not fit the job for that particular painting, but maybe it fits for a different painting.
Yes, for sure.
And I have accumulated lots and lots of papers over the years.
Yes.
It's really fun, though, that you both are very experimental, like with just finding out what works and what you like and saying, well, I'd try that. And so I don't do as much of that because when I find something I like, I stick with it.
Yes.
I have a hard time switching because I've gotten more used to it and more practice on it.
There's definitely two kind of ways to look at it. I definitely have my favorites, my go-tos, for certain subjects. But then I guess also being teaching is not forces me, but encourages me to try new things because I want to be able to share it with everyone else. So I think I'm a little bit more willing to try new things or giving it a chance so that I can say, hey, this might work, or let's try this. So, but I definitely have my go-tos for certain subjects. Yeah.
So, Karen, when did you become an eminent pastelist with the Pastel Society, the Eminent Pastelist status?
That was at the last convention I earned that designation. So
congratulations!
Awesome.
Thank you. It was a culmination of mini goals, I like to call it, because I would set mini goals like, oh, I want to get in this exhibition, and then I was getting close to the master circle, which that comes first. And then I thought, well, I'll never get to the next level, but just keep plugging away at it. And so it was a really special moment for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Congrats.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And you also are a Master Pastelist with Pastel Society of America.
Yes, and that also happened, I think, at the last show or the show before that. So I've gotten enough points to earn that designation. So yeah, I would have never thought when I started, 20 years ago, that these things would be happening to me. But I'm very pleased and honored to be able to do that.
So what does it take to become a Master Pastelist? Or you mentioned points. What does that entail?
Right. So, and I don't know what it currently is, but basically you earn points when you get a painting into an exhibition. And then if that painting wins an award, you usually get another point. So to get each designation, you need a certain number of points. Like I said, I don't know exactly what that is now, but then once you reach the first designation, then you need more points. So each show, you have to keep entering and hoping that you get in. And then if you win an award, that's like bonus. So it's taken, it takes years, really. It could
a lot of hard
years.
work.
Yeah. So
guess what you have to do to win an award? You have to enter.
You have to enter. Yes, exactly. So
I see those deadlines and I'm like, oh, I need to enter that. I want to, get into that. And I'm like, oh, I let that deadline go by.
Yes, I know that happens, but yeah, and it was never my goal initially to even have paintings in exhibitions or anything like that. It was just I was doing it for fun. And then, I think I remember going to my first pastel exhibition was here in Atlanta area for this our Southeastern Pastel Society. That's my home society. And I just remember looking around at the pastels in person, these beautiful paintings and how amazing they were in person. And I said to myself, I want to get in one of these shows someday. And I was like, well, the only way I'm going to do that is if I really work hard and paint. And so I started painting every day, and I got in the following year. So it was like, then I was like, okay, next I've got to make whatever, I think it was award member of excellence. So you had to be in a certain number of shows. So I set little mini goals for myself just to keep me motivated.
One step at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've come pretty close to the end of our time here. We've talked about Patreon. Do you have any upcoming workshops that you're doing?
So in 2026, I have some on the schedule, but I will probably announce them in December. It'll be on my website and on all my social media. I'll announce it. But I can say I'll be going to be in Santa Fe in the fall, Florida in the winter, and but I'll give those details will be coming out very soon. So I got a fun full schedule for next year.
And she's agreed to be on an upcoming pastel event for us. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for that information so we can announce that soon. That's going to be wonderful.
Oh, well, that's so exciting. Thank you.
It is. And she has, Karen has 2 instructional videos with PaintTube, Expressive Pastel Painting, and Secrets to Pastel Landscapes, which are both amazing. So be sure to check those out. Before we go today, Karen, is there anything else that you want to share with our listeners today?
Well, first of all, thank you both for having me. This has been such a pleasure to be able to chat with you about pastel. I love it. Anytime, I would love to talk about it. But I want to give just one little thing. Anytime I get an audience of pastel painters in front of me, I always like to issue a little mini challenge, because this is what really helped kind of propel me and get me past the learning curve and takes me to the next level at every stage. And that is to paint as often as you can. And so I always want to encourage you, even if you don't have time, just to make time for some small paintings and set a timer, say at 20 minutes, and just to get in there and put pastel to paper. And the more you can do that, the faster you will get to that next level. There's no shortcut, but make it fun and you will see results.
Very good advice. There is no shortcuts. It just, people often say brush miles, but we need pastel miles.
Miles of canvas, or we have to say dust. Miles of paper or dust. Yes, for sure.
Leave a trail.
Yes.
Make your mark.
I love it. Those are great. We got to make t-shirts.
There you go. Got to have t-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much for joining us today. Lisa, is there anything else you want to ask Karen before we go?
Oh, I just am a big fan, Karen, and I really, it's been wonderful. Talk to you. It's gone by so fast because
it's gone by fast.
Talk about, and so I know Carrie and I both just love diving into pastels with other artists that are as passionate as we are about pastels. So very much appreciated.
Well, I love it. I love what you all are doing for pastel. It's wonderful to get it out there to even more people. So thank you for that.
We have the best.
You are welcome. The more people are painting with pastel, the happier the world's going to be.
Exactly. I agree.
Very good. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Karen.
All
and
right.
Thank you for everyone who is listening. We are going to be back next month with our next guest. Be sure to check out our website, thepastelpodcast.com, for show notes and all things pastel. Thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, stay vibrant.
Bye, everybody. Happy painting.